Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Gotham Sound TV. I am very excited to be here with Paul from Q5X. Paul, it's really great to see you.
It's great to be back at Gotham.
Yeah, thanks for making the trip. We have some really exciting new products to talk about.
Yes, new, interesting for us. This is a product we're distributing, not one that we've manufactured. It's not called Q5X. It's actually called the Wavenet Neso 2.4. And this is a European product that we discovered at IBC, and we are the North American distributors for this. So it's an IFB product that we're very excited about.
Let's go through what is it?
So basically, as an IFB product, it's a transmitter, which we have here. Can be set up with a power supply and XLR input, and it transmits to receivers, which are hearing aid style receivers. So there's a in the ear canal receiver, and there's a behind the ear receiver, which is actually, I think, quite novel as this form of an IFB application, and we're finding it to be very good in terms of the audio quality, the volume we can get from it, and the fact that it doesn't impair the hearing like the in-ear version does, which actually really acts more like an earplug when you put it in. So it's great for talent.
Because the actual part of the kind of behind the ear, the actual part that goes in the canal, lets sound in.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got a dome on it, and the dome, you can see, has little holes in it to let sound pass, and there's a speaker on it, and the speaker gives very good fidelity, surprisingly good fidelity, because the truth is this was designed as a hearing aid, so it has to be good hearing quality.
Tell me about this behind the ear product.
So the behind the ear product has a receiver, the actual radio part up here, and then it has a speaker. So you can buy either a left or a right speaker, because you can see it actually has a bend in it, so that when you put it in behind your ear, it will go on either side.
Which one is this? Do you know?
This is the left ear.
Left ear. Okay.
So this would go behind the left ear, and then the speaker just goes in. This cable disappears. You don't see it at all, and this sitting behind the ear is really not visible at all either. So for someone who's on camera, this is probably even less visible than the in-ear version, where if you actually get a direct shot at somebody from the profile shot, you can see this sitting in somebody's ear. This one you can't.
Tell me about the left and right for the in-the-ear piece.
This is the in-ear piece, yes. This is a right one, with the red lettering. The left has blue lettering on it. And we found that the right ear version of this works perfectly good in either ear. And in fact, sometimes people find that it's more comfortable in their left ear, even though it's designed for a right ear. Because everybody's different. Everybody's designed differently. Every human is different. So in terms of testing these, if people want to buy them for themselves, they could try either one and choose the one they found to be most comfortable. Or from a rental perspective, I would recommend just stocking the one channel.
Got it. Okay, that's great. We're used to the completely in the ear version of the various products that are in this classification. And we're also used to some of the limitations because of the size.
Yes.
It seems to me that the behind-the-ear version can overcome some of those limitations because you have more space for battery and amplifier. Is that fair to say?
So it's a very robust radio. It has a longer battery life. The battery life is almost 30 hours with this.
Wow. So
you can, no fear at all of you changing the battery once a day on this and putting it on talent. They can wear it to bed if they want. And so from that perspective, is very, very good. And as I said earlier, one of the benefits is it doesn't impair your hearing. So you get more volume, better fidelity, and it doesn't block your hearing from any ambient sound. Right. So in an environment where you want somebody to be able to be very aware of what's going on around them acoustically, this doesn't impair that.
And in terms of the batteries for the behind the ear,
this has a standard cell in it, and it just pops in and out. There's a door here, So it just pops in and out like that. There is a rechargeable version of it though, and the rechargeable version comes with there's a two, because again it's designed as a hearing aid. It's actually a 2 receiver charging module that comes with that.
Huh.
So the rechargeable version it eliminates the need to have batteries.
And certainly, if we were selling one to a newscaster, that would make all kinds of sense
Yes.
to sell them the behind the ear with the rechargeable case.
It's a personal device. They can keep it in their changing room. They can
Yep.
charge it every night. And you know what? Even if they forgot to charge it one night, it's still good for the entire next day anyway. So
Right,
the battery
right.
life is sufficient. You don't have to worry if you happen to forget to charge it overnight, because you're going to be able to have enough battery charge between charges to get through a couple of days.
So Wavenet does offer the traditional hidden in the ear piece for those that absolutely
Right.
need the most discreet solution.
Yes.
Tell me about some of the purchasing options with these, left or right,
Left or right.
and
Yes.
what kind of color variations.
So there's 5 colors available.
Can we apply makeup to the earpiece to make it lighter or darker?
There should be no problem with that at all.
Okay.
The only thing you'd want to be careful of is to not get anything inside the battery compartment.
Of course.
So you
Yep.
break contact with the battery. But the material itself is you can clean it.
Yes. Good. Okay. Good. And so let's talk about some of the stats behind this. Frequency is 2.4 gigahertz, as you
2.4
said.
gigahertz.
And in terms of battery life, you mentioned a absurd 30.
30 hours and very close to 24 hours for the in-ear version.
Fantastic. Okay, so even the worst of the Fratter shoots, this will
Yes.
We've done some range tests here. I will say that I'm very happy with the range. We're going to show a range test, which I'm excited about. Let me ask you about latency. There's some concerns with 2.4 gig.
Maximum 20 milliseconds.
Maximum 20 milliseconds.
And typically less.
Okay, is it fixed, or does the latency depend on?
The latency depends on it's a spread spectrum.
Mhm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. But 20 milliseconds is the maximum.
Is maximum.
And then, these are used a lot in, obviously, anytime an IFB is used, but
Yep.
I'm familiar with their use in competition reality type shows where you have multiple judges and you have producers that want to talk to each judge individually. How many systems simultaneously can we get?
So we can set up 6 transmitters without any degradation. We can
Mhm.
probably go more than 6 transmitters, but there might be slight degradation once we get above 6. Each receiver can be set to receive from 3 different transmitters. And you can actually change the receiver you're receiving from by pushing this little button that is on the back of the...
Yeah.
So by cycling through that, you can cycle through 1, 2, or 3 transmitters.
Huh.
So that can be dangerous. If the person is using it for the first time and doesn't really understand what this button does, they could do something accidentally. But for someone who you can have confidence, you can train them how to use it. You have the ability to use one earpiece and move between studios, for instance, where you'd have different transmitters in different studios.
Got it. But in the competition reality world that I'm thinking of, I pair one earpiece to one transmitter.
Yep.
And I can have up to 6 simultaneously in the same space. But when I only pair it 1-to-1, that button just becomes essentially like an on-off.
Yes.
That's very cool. So it's up to, for those that do need the flexibility of quickly switching between transmitters, which I can actually imagine would be very handy for like an A2
Yes.
that needs to, monitor the transmissions. That's great.
And the other thing that can be done with this, just from a I guess a security perspective, you can actually, because this has 3 receive channels or 3 receive settings, you can pair the same device to the same transmitter 3 times. Then no matter how you push the button, you end up with that receiver.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. That's so they're just slots,
Yeah.
basically. That's
Yes,
great.
exactly.
Fascinating.
It seems like a brute force method, but it absolutely works and is foolproof.
Got it. Okay, that's interesting to note. Okay, good. Let's talk about how these are sold. can I buy, like, what's a typical kit I might be able to buy?
Well, I think it depends on the application. We a lot of these are used for rentals.
Yeah.
And often as rentals, people would want to have 2 or 3 receivers, depending on what the application is.
And that's forgive me, that's a very obvious question that I overlooked.
So you can have as many unlimited number of receivers.
Unlimited receivers to one transmitter.
If you wanted to, if in a situation where you wanted to have the entire cast of dancers
yes.
wearing this and have a click track, you could put this on every dancer.
Yes.
And they would have the same click track.
I'm going to ask a pain in the ass question, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
In that case, does the variable latency depend on the transmitter or on the receiver? Like, will each receiver...
They receive the same.
They would be in time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay. Good. I guess so those are the receivers. Let's go over some of the features of the transmitter.
So the transmitter on the front has a couple of controls. The controls are all set back from the surface, so no one can accidentally push a button. They're all you have to use a small screwdriver or a tweaker to push them.
Which, to be fair, I did notice came in the kit.
Yes. So there's a button. This is the button for doing the synchronization of these. So as you want to link a receiver to the transmitter, you use this button.
Mm-hmm.
You push that button, and this radio light will flash.
Mm-hmm.
And then to actually link the receiver to the transmitter, you just simply set the receiver on top of this grill.
Mm-hmm.
And when the light turns solid, it is linked.
Got it.
So then there's a volume control here, and just a plus or a minus in the volume control, and that's really the only controls on this.
And it's a plus 4 nominal input in terms of the analog audio input.
It is line level.
Line level. Yeah. Okay.
So on the back, the 2.4 gig antenna.
Mm-hmm.
We have a power supply. So this is a 4-pin power supply, and we have an XLR for audio input.
Got it.
So an XLR 4-pin for the power.
Got it. And at the current specifications for the 12-volt input, it can go up to 14 volts.
Yes.
That's great. Okay.
And so obviously it can be powered from a 12-volt power supply.
Yes.
If you got in the field, if you want to, you could use a car battery.
Right.
But
sure.
But any
a lead
any
acid
power
or nickel
supply.
metal hydride. Yeah. Lithium might be a little bit high at the moment, although there's some the manufacturer seems open to ideas about that.
Yep.
Okay, good. For those curious, it's reverse polarity SMA on the SMA connector.
Yes.
So.
And the output power is 100 milliwatts.
100 milliwatts at 2.4 gig spread spectrum.
Spread spectrum.
And
its frequency hops across 80 channels.
80 channels in 2.4 gig.
Yeah.
Is there any control, or are there versions where we can kind of steer it to one end of the 2.4 gig spectrum or another, or it'll just do its thing?
It does its thing. Okay. And I've tried this. I guess before taking this on as a project, I did a test of this, and I looked for a tough RF environment. The test I did was at the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game in Salt Lake City last year.
Sure. Yeah.
And I set this up during the halftime show.
Yeah.
With the stadium full of 20,000 fans and all of the RF involved in the NBA All-Star game, and it was rock solid.
That's great.
And I was able to get coverage from a single antenna. I was able to get coverage of the entire basketball court and into the bombs. So without any dropouts. So that to me was just stellar performance.
Wow. So Paul, Q5X, we know you for the player mics.
Yes.
And there's some fantastic integration with other manufacturers, and it's just so unique on the marketplace for wireless microphones. How did you come to take on Wavenet? What drew you to it?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that's happening in sports now is they want to do more on-field interviews. And baseball particularly has done stuff in the game where they're actually in the ESPN in the fourth inning is doing interviews of players during the game on field. And
forgive my laugh, but I that sounds like such an incredible technological challenge.
It's a very difficult challenge.
Yes.
And the biggest side, so our player mics have been used for years to do this, is so we can capture the responses of a player, but they need the ability to be able to ask a player a question. Hence the IFB. but it has to be something small. It has to be
Yes.
something they can put on and off easily.
Yes.
They can't have a wire running down their back, so
No.
they can't have a wired IFB. So they need a wireless IFB that has sufficient range to be able to cover a baseball field or a basketball court or a hockey rink. So almost all sports are doing it in practices, in warm-up times, where and that's fan engagement. They want to be able to have fans talk to their heroes, their stars, and have them answer these questions. So what we saw was a need as people, our clients were trying to capture this audio, and I came across this as being a great IFB solution to facilitate. We already have like I say, we already through the player mic we get the responses back on the transmit side from the player back to the receivers to go to air, but we need the ability to ask questions.
Wow, that's what an incredible use case for that. That's amazing. That's awesome. All right. I never would have thought that was a possibility to do with a player, but it makes perfect sense.
And it's interesting. It's interesting on our side as well, and sort of a big secret. I mean, a lot of film now is being done where people are fed their lines through these.
Sure. I mean, even we're involved in theatrical, Broadway type shows.
Yes.
Where that's being done. So absolutely, and like I mentioned earlier, the reality space where the judges all
Right.
have, and the hosts all have earpieces, and the need to be discreet. In my opinion, the behind the ear piece is sufficiently small for a lot of use case scenarios. Obviously, if people have hair, then it's completely covered. But if it's, I think for most people's ears, you'd be hard pressed to kind of see this very, 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 very thin wire. Paul, what is the range that one can expect out of this with the stock antenna?
So this should be 100 meters. Complex RF environment. That's still maintained.
100 meters line of sight?
Line of sight.
Okay, yeah.
At the end of the range, one of the ways of getting a better connection is to be sure that the transmitter is at a high elevation.
Right.
Because where you can end up with problems if you're in a crowd of people and you've got a short person wearing this and you've got a lot of bodies between the two antennas.
Sure.
You can get some occlusion. So by having the antenna very high, you can get the angle that's appropriate, that you'll get good reception.
Amazing. Okay, great. Yeah, 100 meters is fantastic.
Yep.
I can say testing in our office with the stock antenna, where there were multiple walls between us and the end of range, we got about 200 feet, which is impressive.
Great.
Yeah.
Super.
And not line of sight, and also low, not low to the ground, but on a table.
Right.
So yeah, range is not an issue.
Yeah.
Multiple transmitters, does that change the range as long as you kind of give them enough room?
Give them enough room. Give them a separation.
Good. All right. Terrific.
Thank
I would
you.
like
Super.
to do a range test.
Yep.
And we kind of do an extreme range test. Which is we want to go outside in the street. We set up the transmitter inside, and Nancy, who is off camera, will go for a walk.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Nancy, if you don't mind just coming on over here. Let's put the earpieces in each of your ears. So, Paul, let's start with the behind the ear. Okay. Yeah, and Nancy, if you just kind of if the shot were literally behind your ear, we could see it. But if the camera even just sort of comes around a little bit, it basically blends in. Well, now it's completely gone. That's great. And Nancy, you had made the point that when ordering this, if you're ordering it for a specific cast, just a little bit darker. There's 6 different colors you can order, so you order the one darker than their natural skin tone. Especially for the wire. So even the wire, yeah, that makes sense. And presumably, the makeup department could really go to town and hide that. Okay. And so, yeah, there's the... And that completely disappears. Yeah. Right. No, that's great. Okay. Come walk with me. All right. Here we go. All right. Very, very scientifically designed.
Calibrated and positioned.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there we go. It's not going to fall out in theory.
And there's nobody below us that's going to get clonked on the head by this thing.
That's right. And you're going to go down the stairs. All right. We're talking into the walkie, and that walkie is being sent into the transmitter. And Nancy, I assume you're nodding so you can hear us in both pieces. Is that right? That's great. That's great. Good. We're going down the stairs, and then, as people will see, you will pop out outside.
Pop out on the street.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And off I go down the street. Let's go back up to where you guys are.
And I think, Nancy...
Are you guys catching that?
Say, if you turn around, people can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we are. We sure are. And you can still hear us, obviously.
I can totally hear.
In both ears.
I can totally hear in both ears. Off I go.
Yeah, that's great.
Talk to these truck guys. Hey, guys.
So,
I'm making friends in your neighborhood. It's great here.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Looks lovely. And look at this blue sky we ordered for this. Okay, there we go.
Welcome to New York. And so you can hear me in both ears still?
Both ears are good. Both ears are good. Sounds great.
Good.
And let's see how far back are we?
Good.
So we're at the green.
Yeah, so you're definitely not line of sight.
Right, and we are the tall, there we go. I can see how far we're at. There we go. Check again.
Oh, yeah, so this is me talking to you.
This is you, okay. Keep going.
I can hear it. Yeah, it's quite loud. Yeah. All right.
It's great.
We turned it up because I didn't know how loud it would be outside, but
no,
it's good.
It's great. It's good volume in both ears. Keep checking with me. Check. Let's do a...
And yeah, so this is me checking, and you are definitely like well beyond line of sight, outside in an industrial area.
We're getting to the point right now as I turn my in-ear away from the antenna where it's placed in the window. I'm getting a drop, and as I turn back towards you, keep talking to me and let me turn into it.
Yeah, this is me talking.
Good behind the ear.
Talking.
Good behind the ear. And there comes the in-ear right there.
Good behind the ear.
So there was a little bit of drop.
So the behind the ear definitely has more range. Yeah, that's good.
It does. There, and now that I've put my ear back towards, it's a little bit of drop as long as I'm turned to the side on the in-ear, but the behind the ear is perfect.
And I'm just going to keep talking to you.
Keep talking.
Yeah, that's great. So
keep talking.
Your in-ear is out of range?
There we go.
Let's
do another pause.
Yeah.
That's how far I am away. And I think there we go. There's the behind the ear.
Got it. Okay, so behind the
ear is working. Behind the ear is good. And the in-ear is still here.
Behind the
when
ear
I'm in direct. When I line my ear up to the antenna, I'm good.
To the
still on both sides.
But the behind the ear has been continuous. Is that right?
I think
Nancy?
I'm probably to my edge. I might be to the edge.
Yeah, you must be. Yeah.
This is the doorway I got to. We can come out with a yardstick later. Do you want me to keep going till I'm gone?
Well, I mean, you'll stay in range, but can you still hear me through the earpiece?
I can still hear you.
Ear?
I can still hear you.
So the behind the ear is still working. Just
Let's try here.
in the ear is gone. That's amazing.
Check, Peter.
Yeah. So this is me talking.
Check.
And this is me checking. So you may be out of range on both. Yeah.
All right.
You're out of range.
I think you're gone.
All right. So that's the end.
I think you're gone.
Yeah. All right.
We got down to the albatross on your street.
Yeah, that's amazing. So this is sort of how I like to do range tests. You
Yeah.
know, like real world.
Well,
out,
that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
And
on a sidewalk. I'm pretty happy with that range test.
I think that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think as I said, the reason we're getting involved in this is because our customers have problems with what they're using today, and I see this as a very viable alternative to solve today's problems for our customers.
Absolutely. Paul, thank you very much. We will. Here she comes. That was amazing, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for watching, everybody. Please, we'll be watching the comments. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Nate. Thanks to Jared for making this happen, and Joe. Thank you. See you next time.
Good fun.